A typical White House press briefing with Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
The Bible tells us in Psalms that the Lord heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. The Gospel of John reminds us that there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for a friend. As a person of faith, I think we all have one perfect role model, and when I'm asked that question, I point to God, I point to my faith. It is very biblical to enforce the law. That is actually repeated a number of times throughout the Bible. It is one nation, under God, and indivisible. And with that, I'll take your questions. So we'll keep this short today, and with that, I'll get started, John. And with that, I will take your questions. And with that, I will take your questions. With that, I'll take your questions. With that, I'll take your questions.
The question's a little different. Does he bear responsibility?
Guys, no way. Hold on.
Sorry,
Kristen, I'm going to keep moving.
So many of us have spoken to people who said they heard these comments. Do you say that they're lying?
Sorry, go ahead.
Are they lying,
Sarah, General Kelly.
Brian, guys,
Sarah, come on,
settle down.
seriously.
If I can ask a follow-up question, who are these?
Not today, Jim.
Well,
Go ahead,
others
Josh.
have had follow-up questions.
They haven't actually. Go ahead, Josh.
They have had a follow-up question.
I think that this has gotten totally out of control. Sorry, Major, I'm going to keep going.
This is a completely
Shannon, I'm
tainted
gonna-
investigation. Do you agree with that?
Can you?
You said it's a completely tainted
Sorry.
investigation. Do you agree with that?
Shannon, go ahead. Hey,
come on,
Brian, I know you want to
not-
get some more TV
It's
time, but
not
that's not
that-
what this
it's
is
not
about.
about-
Yeah, this is an
Sorry,
important
Peter,
one because
we're
it's
gonna
about.
keep moving. Go
I'll just
ahead.
keep asking if I can.
Peter,
The president.
no, you can't actually.
Well,
Go
actually,
ahead.
I'm going to, Sarah.
Seriously.
I'm trying to be serious, but I'm not going to have you yell out of turn. Jill, please call.
It's a law.
I guess the question is: does the president believe the framers envisioned a system where the president couldn't pardon himself, where the president could be above the law?
So does the White House now acknowledge that that payment was made with politics in mind?
His lawyers are saying something entirely different, contradictory. How are we supposed to know what to believe? How can we believe what you're saying from the podium if his lawyers are saying it's entirely inaccurate?
We had to respond to presidential tweets. Has anybody ever in this administration asked him to back away from Twitter just for a day?
Why would the president lie about something like that?
He didn't. On the first question, you know, it's I think that you know, I think his look, the president is going into this are very deeply personal. The focus, at least in the meeting that I was in, Kim Jong-un. He does believe that they, and frankly, and look, I think that meeting both in person and having regular phone conversations of to my knowledge, we're, as you said, these Otto Warmbier, Unga, and these and to continue. I haven't. The Manafort case, North Korea nuclear you haven't seen the nuclear detonations. Let me see if and that what took place over in the Facebook, frankly, but beyond that, I really don't have anything to add. I'm not going to get into specifics and certainly not negotiate with the press. I'm not going to make a blanket generalization. I'm not going to get ahead of anything. I'm not going to get into the details. I'm not going to get into a back and forth. I'm not going to respond to a letter from the president's outside counsel. Again, I'm not aware of the back and forth, and I would refer you to the president's outside counsel. So I would refer you back to them. I would refer you back to Mayor Giuliani's comment. Rudy Giuliani, I'd refer you back to him. You would have to ask Rudy Giuliani. You'd have to ask the president's outside counsel. That's something that you would have to ask the Department of Justice, or that's something that you would have to talk with the Department of Justice and the President's outside counsel. I can't answer, and I would direct you to them. That's a question you have to ask them. I don't speak for people on the outside. And there's nothing else to add beyond what the President already said this morning. As the President has said many times and stated it over and over again, as have I, and a number of other administration officials, and has repeatedly, as again have the rest of us, and as I mentioned just a moment ago, I have addressed this a number of times. Like I've said a few times before, as we've said many times before, which we've addressed here many times before, as we've laid out time and time again, and we've repeated it time and time again. I answered this question yesterday, and I think I've clarified this about 10 times now. Again, I'm not going to get into a back and forth with you guys on an internal meeting. Again, the President's not going to get into, again, I'm not sure. Again, the President, again, certainly we, again, Kristen, I think I've asked, and this question has been asked, and I've answered it several times. Once again, I've commented on this pretty extensively. Once again, I can't comment. Once again, if we deemed it necessarily, we would certainly look into that. The President hasn't done anything wrong. Be a total witch hunt. The fact that the economy is booming, ISIS is on the run, and American leadership is being reasserted around the world, and that the President, again, would like to repeat that there was no collusion. Look, the President is not obstructing, he's fighting back. That when the President gets hit, he's going to hit back harder, which is what he did here today. Massive media hysteria yesterday. What about the constant attacks that he receives, or the rest of us? With this sort of misinformation and lack of interest that's so pervasive in the media, it's completely understandable for the President to be frustrated. The outrageousness. The only person that I see a war on is this President and everybody that works for him.
Two questions to follow up on this.
Look, again, I think that the President is pushing back against people who attack him day after day after day. Where is the outrage on that? As the President likes to say, we'll see what happens. Open, as he said many times, we'll see what happens. Well, since there's currently not an election today, I'm not sure what those two things are you're trying to connect. Is that a question, or? That's a lot of questions rolled into one. I'll try to address each one, and if I miss something, I'm sure you guys will point it out. Just because you continue to ask the same questions over and over, I'm not going to give you a different answer. That's not what I said, and I know it's hard for you to understand. Even short sentences, I guess, but I know this will come as a shock to you. Frankly, you have the ability to choose what you want to write about, and you guys choose to write about things that the American people don't care about day in and day out, and that's a decision that you make, and frankly, I think it's the wrong one. Slow down and quit going after the Trump administration on every single thing that takes place.
I think it's a fairly simple question, whether you just
I think it's a
didn't have the
fairly simple
information
answer that
at
I've
the
given you
time.
actually several times now.
And this kind of gets to the point that's been made, and
Exactly, this is the point that's been made, so I'm not sure why we're continuing to answer the same question. I'd hardly call brokering a deal to help coordinate a meeting.
Is not a taxpayer-funded spokesperson for the President. You are. So how can you not explain something the President said today?
You guys need to take a little bit of a step back. I guess it's kind of like we're living in the twilight zone. They do this day after day after day. And the just desire to find the negative in everything that this President does. But the bottom line is he doesn't have to justify constant personal attacks, calling multiple members liars to their faces. I think not only does the President have a right to be frustrated, he has a right to be angry, and he is, and he's going to express that. Frankly, I'm not sure why that is so hard for the media to write about. With the level of corruption that we've seen from people like Jim Comey, it's ridiculous that all of the corruption and dishonesty that's gone on with the launching of the witch hunt, Peter Strzok, Andrew McCabe, utterly stupid. Comey, Mr. Brennan, Clapper, Hayden, Rice, and McCabe, personality disorder. Comey, Peter Strzok, or Lisa Page, or James Comey. Senator Schumer is not somebody this White House is probably ever going to take advice from on how to negotiate or get a good deal on anything, particularly based on his track record. Mentally ill Comey. We're anti-President Trump. As you know, none of us were here in 2016, but we're here now. Frankly, I think it's outrageous that Democrats have not come to the table and tried to help fix this problem. Democrats in Congress would stop playing political political games, that Democrats in the Senate still were unwilling to actually come to the table, particularly Democrats. And Democrats have made it abundantly clear that they don't actually want to fix problems. They just want to talk about this all the way. I guess for some reason they think this is a good issue for them, although it isn't. The Democrats have failed to come to the table, failed to help this president. Democrats have got to stop playing games. This is a desperate and pathetic attempt by Democrats to obstruct. They've got to stop doing this just because it's a midterm year.
So has he lied?
Look, again, I think that's a ridiculous accusation. The president in this matter has done nothing wrong, and there are no charges against him. The entire investigation is based off of a dirty, discredited dossier. However, his campaign colluding in that process is a total hoax by the liberal media, Hollywood elites, and when they hit him, he's going to hit back. He fights fire with fire. Certainly, we've made clear we'd like to see this wrap up.
These are statements that are just not true.
We give the very best information that we have at the time. I do that every single day, and we'll continue to do that every day I'm in this position.
All right, that last statement from Sanders is a lie, of course.